Could this be you?
I was up in Newport, and I went up there on a case and everything else, and I'm shook up about it. And I haven't had too much to drink, and that's the truth.
That's the voice of a traffic violator arrested on our highways by Officer George Engeldahl and other officers of the Washington State Patrol. During this program, you'll hear that voice and the voices of other violators tape recorded on the scene and presented here with the question, could this be you? There are no actors here. Seldom is a hidden microphone even suspected. You hear it all just as it happened. This program is presented in the public interest of saving lives on our highways. In the first incident tonight, we will hear Officer Engeldahl talk to a woman who has been arrested on suspicion of drunk driving. Officer Mittman had made the arrest and had taken the driver into the patrol office for a drunkometer test. Could this be you?
What happened out here this evening?
Nothing.
I understand you were driving, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And the automobile belonged to the gentleman that was with you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, how come you're driving then if it's his car?
Because he asked me to drive it, that's why.
Oh, what's his trouble? Man generally drives his own automobile when he takes a lady out, doesn't he? What happened this evening?
Nothing.
You've had quite a bit to drink tonight, haven't you?
No.
From where I'm standing, it looks to me like you've had plenty to drink.
No, I haven't. I was up in Newport, and I went up there on a case and everything else, and I'm shook up about it. And I haven't had too much to drink, and that's the truth.
What happened up in Newport? Another traffic charge up there?
No, sir. Not at all. Not at all, sir. Not at all.
We've got one warrant out on you here in Spokane already. And here you are, you're just out of court today in Newport, apparently, and now you're picked up again on another charge this evening. You seem to be having all kinds of difficulty with the law.
Oh, you bet I am. Because I go to work and my husband tries to kill me. Big deal. Sure, great big deal. I think that's fine. Takes the kids away from me. He does everything. And I'm supposed to go to work and stand by it and worry about it. No, not worry about it. He thinks he's doing something real great. I divorced him before. I took him back. Tried it again. Took a gun after me.
Well, is that any reason why you should go out and get yourself intoxicated and then climb behind the wheel of an automobile and drive down the highway?
I wasn't intoxicated.
Well, it's pretty obvious that you're intoxicated right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not intoxicated. I'm just shook up.
What is that I smell on your breath then?
Beer? I had 4 beers. I told the guy I had 4 beers.
I think you've had a lot more than 4 beers.
If you have 1 beer, you know, sir. If you have 1 beer, it'll smell just as much as if you had 2 dozen beers.
That's very true, but at the same time, 1 beer won't affect you like several will, and you're obviously affected by what you've had to drink.
No, I'm not.
Your eyes are bloodshot. You're having a tough time walking. Well, you've been all over the road out here tonight in this automobile, back and forth across the highway and onto the shoulder and over the center line. Now, something had to cause that, don't you think? People don't ordinarily drive like that. And that's what we're mainly concerned with tonight, is your driving. Now, what do you think would cause you to drive that way? Do you have any idea at all? How about the liquor you've had to drink?
I told you I had 4 beers. Sure, and that's the truth. I'm shook up.
Does 4 beers ordinarily affect you this way?
Huh?
Does 4 beers ordinarily affect you this way?
No. I'll tell you one thing, sir, and it's the truth. It isn't what I've had to drink. It's just that I've been shook up and worried about that deal up there and everything else, and I just get shook up, and that's it. Can you understand? You can't.
Yes, I can understand.
You don't.
But if you're in that condition, you shouldn't be driving in the first place, should you? Probably a combination of the beer and the nerves.
Nobody understands. Nobody has got any sympathy for me at all.
Is that what you're after, is sympathy? All we're trying to do is keep you and everybody else out here that uses this highway alive. Sometimes it's necessary to take drivers off of the road for their own protection and the protection of
I can see it. I can see it, sir. Actually, I can see it. Because there's been time and time and time again where I've driven down the road where there should be somebody that goes to work and picks up somebody. You know what I mean?
Certainly. We see it all the time.
But then they're not there at the time they're supposed to be. Can you understand?
Well, we were here tonight, and I think we were here at the right time to get you off the road.
Yeah.
Here was a driver under the influence of 2 deadly conditions, beer and an emotional conflict. Either one of them can cause all kinds of trouble on the highways. This driver was no stranger to trouble with the patrol officers, though. You heard Officer Engeldahl say that there was already 1 warrant out for her. Another point to remember is that had she had a wreck and injured or killed someone, the owner of the car would have been held liable for the damages. Ponder this the next time you decide to let someone else drive your car. Well, you heard the woman say that she had had 4 beers. After Officer Engeldahl talked to her, she was taken into the patrol office for the drunkometer test, and Officer Engeldahl then talked to the owner of the vehicle. Here is a slightly different story. Could this be you?
How do you do, sir? Good evening. How are you tonight? Huh?
I ain't doing no good with you guys.
Well, I'd just kind of like to talk to you a minute about how you got here in the first place.
Oh, okay, sir.
What happened out here this evening?
We was just right along minding our own business, and we got nailed.
Who was driving? Were you driving?
No, my girlfriend was driving.
Oh, I see. Who's the car belong to?
Me.
To you?
Yes, sir.
How come you weren't driving then? Your car?
I was in no shape to drive, sir.
That's what I thought. It looked to me like you've had quite a bit to drink, have you?
Yes, I've had a little drink. Yes, sir.
You celebrating something this evening, or just out on the town?
No, I was hurting, so.
Beg your pardon?
We was hurting. We had our domestic troubles and stuff.
Well, what do you suppose happened that would cause him to stop you in the first place?
Oh, I don't know, sir. I thought she was driving properly, and
You thought so, huh?
well, I hope so.
Were you watching her driving at all?
Yes, sir.
You think she was driving all right?
She had been driving all right. Yes, sir.
Well, she must have been doing something wrong to get stopped.
Well, I guess so, but I don't know what she was doing. Honest.
Probably she's had too much to drink, too. Do you suppose that might be it?
Well, I don't know. She's very well. She conducts herself properly, and you know.
Has she been with you all evening?
She's been with me, yes.
Well, then she's probably had just as much to drink as you have, then, hasn't she?
Well, I don't know. I doubt it, too. Honestly.
If you went out together tonight, I wouldn't doubt that what you sat and drank drink for drink, wouldn't you?
Well, maybe I drink faster than she does.
Pretty obvious that you'd be in no shape to drive an automobile, and I would imagine if she'd been with you all evening,
Well,
she
sir.
isn't either.
Maybe I was wrong, sir. But I thought she was in better shape than me, see, than to drink, because possibly I drink more and than a lady does, and so I figured, well, and she said she was capable, and I figured she was, so it's my responsibility. I realize that, sir. And I'm wrong.
Been drinking all evening?
Well, kind of off and on,
What were you doing on the off times then?
We had some personal business to tend to, and we were tending to that, and
Well, do you know what you're doing here now?
yes, sir.
Do you know what you're charged with?
No, sir.
You're charged with drunkenness.
Yes, sir.
I imagine that the next stop for you will be the Spokane County Jail.
Well, I assume that.
His assumption turned out to be correct. The man was booked for drunkenness, the driver for drunk driving. A drunk driving charge could only multiply whatever other troubles this driver had with the authorities. It has been brought out here and elsewhere that the courts are becoming less and less patient with the drunk driver. Now, I'll be back with the next incident on Could This Be You? After this word from your announcer.
He looks just like his father. We've all heard statements like this, but have you ever stopped to wonder exactly why we resemble our relatives? One man did, Thomas Hunt Morgan. Born in Lexington, Kentucky in 1866, Morgan's interest in science took him to the University of Kentucky and Johns Hopkins. While his colleagues were choosing fields in physics and chemistry, Morgan's interest turned to something more personal, man himself. Why do we inherit physical characteristics from our parents? To find the answer, Morgan spent years studying the common fruit fly. He bred generation after generation, constantly observing the traits produced. He then computed mathematical tables and analyzed the whole question of heredity in terms of the nucleus. The nucleus, he observed, was the center of activity in every cell. As a result, he developed his theory of the gene. This theory, simplified, holds that each human cell contains hundreds of units called genes, and each gene carries a physical characteristic from its parents. For this outstanding work, Morgan was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine in 1933. Thomas Hunt Morgan, an American scientist with the philosophy that somewhere there must be an answer. Let's find it.
As we rejoin Officer Engeldahl, we're speeding down the highway in pursuit of an erratic driver. The officer is giving a running account of the actions of this driver. Could this be you?
At the present time, we're in pursuit of about a 1952 or 53 Ford sedan traveling south on US 10 in the Four Lakes area. Actually, we're just south of Four Lakes, and we're directly behind this vehicle now. We're getting a good pace on him at just a little better than 80 miles an hour. This is a posted 60-mile-an-hour highway, and in addition to speed, this driver is driving with his left wheels either on the center line or across it. As oncoming traffic approaches, he will swing back to his own side of the road momentarily until they get by, and then right back out, straddle or across the center line. I think we'd better get him stopped and find out what his trouble is. Now, the brake lights come on. The driver is slowing down and pulling to the shoulder. It looks like there are two men in the car. We don't see anybody else, just the two men in the front seat. Let's go up and have a talk with this driver. Do you have any idea what the speed limit is in the state of Washington?
I think it's 65, isn't it, on the highways?
Nope. It's posted all over the state of Washington, 60 miles an hour on the open highway. Do you have any idea how fast you've been traveling?
According to my speedometer, I've been going between 70 and 75.
Well, according to my speedometer, you've been running 80 and 85.
Well, my speedometer's way off then.
And another thing, that center line out there is for you to keep to the right of. That's what it is,
Yes.
a divider line. And you've been spending about 80% of your time with your left wheels either on the line or across it. You notice that?
Yes, sir.
Well, now, how come?
I have no excuse. I just been driving, that's all.
Just been driving and no reason for crossing the center line. You've passed several strings of oncoming cars, and a couple of times there I didn't know if you were going to get back to your own side of the road or not. Do you normally drive that way?
No, sir, I do not.
Well, what's the reason for it this evening, then?
Well, no excuse, except that I got to be back in Spokane at 1 o'clock, and this man asked me to take him someplace, and I told him I would, and I got to be back. That's the only thing I've got to offer.
How much have you had to drink this evening?
Oh, I've had, all I've been drinking beer, and I've had my capacity. I'll admit that.
I think that's probably got a lot to do with your driving, don't you? Probably the main reason you can't stay on your own side of the road.
Well, I could stay on my own side of the road, officer.
Well, you haven't been doing it.
Well, I can. And I mean, I'm willing to prove it if you want me to, but I can.
How much beer have you had tonight?
I couldn't come right down to quantity. But just like I say, I've had my capacity. That's about the size of it. That's all I can say.
The patrol officers placed this driver in the back of the patrol car, preparatory to taking him to the patrol office for a drunkometer test. Officer Engeldahl then talked to the passenger of the vehicle. Could this be you?
Where was he taking you? Pardon? Well, he tells me he's taking you someplace. Where was this at?
Ritzville.
To Ritzville?
Yeah.
Is that where you live?
No, I live in Spokane, but it's a friend of mine, and rather than take the train, he said, well, I'll take you down.
Uh-huh. You've been out doing a little drinking with him, have you, tonight?
Oh, actually, I mean, truthfully, he hasn't been drinking too much. But we've been sitting talking. I have, yes.
You've been doing some drinking too, huh?
Yeah, sure. But he has to be back in Spokane. He said, well, I'll get you down to Ritzville when I come back. And I said, well, no, I said, no. He said, it's going to hurry you too much. Well, I said, well, why don't you drive, either to take the bus or the train, and I'll drive you down. And he said, well, I'll take you down and I'll come back.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think you're kind of putting yourself on the spot by riding with a man that's had as much to drink as he has?
Well, actually, he hasn't had that much to drink.
Well, did you, sitting over there where you're at, did you notice anything wrong with his driving?
Yes, and I told him, but you notice that cast in his arm?
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing there. To me, it isn't because he's drunk.
Well, he's got another good arm he can steer with.
That's what he's been trying to do, and
he's traveling 80 and better and back and forth across this road out here.
That I didn't notice because, of course, I'm anxious to get down to Ritzville.
You'd have been a lot safer on a train or a bus, I think.
Now I know that.
Yes, he knows it now. He was lucky not to have found it out an even harder way. 80 miles an hour, even without a few drinks, with the driver's arm in the cast, is just asking for trouble. There was no doubt or argument about the reason for the next driver's troubles. Here's the way it looked to Officer Engeldahl from the patrol car. Could this be you?
We're in behind about a 1950 Cadillac, and this driver seems to be having quite a bit of difficulty. He's over the center line and then onto the shoulder, and right now he's doing pretty good. However, he's beginning to weave a little. He's going toward the right now. He's off on the shoulder with his right wheels. He's coming back to the roadway now. He's only moving about 20 miles an hour. And now there he goes out over the center line. I think we better get this driver stopped and find out what his trouble is. We haven't seen any brake lights. There they come. The brake lights just went on. He's slowing down very slow and is moving toward the shoulder. He's not off yet, though. He's just barely there. Now he's off onto the shoulder and is just about stopped. Let's go up and have a talk with this driver. How do you do, sir?
As usual.
How are you this evening?
So fine.
How come you got that top light on?
Have that on. Didn't mean to have that on.
There we are. That's better. I've been watching you drive for the last half or 3/4 of a mile, sir, and you have been back and forth over this one lane of travel out here, over the center line and back again several times, and you're only moving about 20 miles an hour. What seems to be the difficulty this evening? Beg your pardon?
Negligence.
Negligence?
Negligence, what do you call it?
Yeah, that could be. Also, I think there's been quite a bit of drinking here, too, hasn't there?
No, not too much, Butch.
Well, I don't know. There's an awfully strong odor of liquor on your breath. How much have you had to drink tonight?
Oh, I'll wait. If I said 2 beers or 4 beers, you wouldn't believe me, would you?
No, I don't think I would.
No, that's right.
How much do you think you've had to drink this evening?
I had a few drinks.
Beg your pardon?
I had a few drinks.
A few drinks?
Yeah.
Well, how many is a few?
Well, beer and whiskey. There's enough drinks in it.
Maybe quite a few, huh?
That's possible.
That's possible?
Possible.
Where have you been this evening?
Oh, down in Spokane here, and I'm going to, I'm headed to Montana, see.
You're headed for Montana?
Yeah.
Where's your home?
My home is in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you've had a little too much to drink to be out here driving this evening.
Well, I'll park over there. You're good people.
Well, actually, we can't just allow you to park your car either. I think right now you better get out and come on back to my car.
This driver was arrested and taken to the county jail. The charge, drunk and reckless driving. Should he be found guilty, he could spend a few more days in jail, as well as paying a heavy fine and losing his driver's license. Another driver who learned, next to the hardest way, that drinking and driving does not pay. The hardest way to learn involves a rending crash. Now, I'll be back with a final word on Could This Be You? After this word from your announcer.
An American is always proud and happy to help someone help himself. Not only because he is usually helped in return, but for the simple reason Americans feel other people also ought to have the opportunity to live a peaceful, happy, and fruitful life. That's why the USA is one of the member nations of CETO, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. The United States helps the other CETO countries, and they help the United States. That's the way CETO works. CETO is working to preserve all of the freedoms and liberties for you.
You have heard Could This Be You? Actual recordings of the arrests of traffic violators on Washington state highways by Officer George Engeldow and other officers of the Washington State Patrol. Could This Be You? Is a copyright feature of Golden West Broadcasters Incorporated, presented in cooperation with the Washington State Patrol and presented in the public interest of saving lives on our highways. The voices you have heard are all real. There has been nothing added for effect. Now, this is Buck Ritchie, hoping that you will not be on next week's program. Could This Be You? Is heard round the world via Armed Forces Radio Service. The Washington State Patrol does not endorse any product or commercial service.
Could This Be You? Has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.